Übel Blatt is a really good dark fantasy manga I used to read when it was coming out. It is about a guy called Quinzel who is on a journey to kill the 7 heroes who saved the world, who saved the country from what is basically Wizardland. Look, don't worry too hard about it. Turns out that the 7 heroes were betrayed by the 4 Lances of Betrayal, I think they were called. And so here's the deal. The actual truth is our boy Quinzel is secretly one of the members of the Lances of Betrayal. And actually, the ones who actually saved the country were the Lances, and the heroes sort of just brutally fucking murdered them and stole all the accolades once it was all said and done. So Quinzel here is on a journey to just fucking murk all of his old comrades, the so-called 7 heroes. That's the basic plot synopsis. There's more to it. That's really what you need to know. Now, here's the thing. Considering I said it was really good and I read it when it was coming out, what went wrong, you might be asking? A lot of it has to do with pacing, and a good amount of it is actually some removed content, I realized. But, so I saw, now my memory's a little rusty, but I saw a mention that one of the things that happened, probably towards episode 10 or something, occurred in around chapter 60, chapter 68 of the manga. This is a 12-episode anime series. Now, the general rule of thumb, and also Ubel Blatt is a seinen series, so those tend to have even longer chapters, but the general rule of thumb is you're going to want to do about 3 chapters per episode. So, clearly you can see where the problem came in. There was absolutely fucking rapid breakneck pacing to the detriment of the story, to the detriment of the characters, and just to the detriment of everything that's going on in general. To the point where, the second half of the final episode was just fucking... I lost track of what was happening. It was just flying through shit in order to have some sort of ending. I actually realized while thinking about what I was going to say for this review that we didn't even find out how Quinzel ended up in the fairy body, because the show contrasts his, original, Asherit body when he was, theoretically one of the Lances of Betrayal with his new sort of lether androgynous elf boy body. And the show never explains how this happens, I have realized. I literally just realized that. It is fucking wild. So, no wonder people are getting so confused. I don't normally comment on the animation, but it is worth noting that in a series where you're sort of stripping away a lot of the more impactful elements of the show to sort of have a fucking gritty dark fantasy action series, the animation in this really does not do it for the fight scenes. I guess the final fight is a little better, and there are some moments, but it's a lot of still frames, reaction shots, blood sprays. It's not really well handled, and it is, again, another point of detraction. There are arcs completed for the characters, but they don't feel earned. Because they cut out a bunch of shit and dialogue and shit. There's a lot of nuance that was sort of taken from the character, sort of just distilling them down into their basic essences. And so we end up sort of with a product that's just flying through the content, not spending any time on the characters, not really putting the sort of effort deserved into any of the fight scenes. Apparently, there's some complaints about censorship. I honestly don't think it's that concerning. I feel like censorship is mostly a problem when it's being used to suppress content or remove what's already there. They just chose not to adapt some of the more seedier elements of Ubel Blatt. It's not a big deal, but I understand how some people could be upset about it, but I would hardly consider that censorship. Regardless, there is sort of just no way around this. This is a really piss-poor adaptation of a really good story, and honestly, if anything, it sort of makes me want to go back and read the manga again, because this was an incredible disappointment. Twitch and Discord in the description. I've been Sacrobolic. You're Envoy of Hope. Bye-bye.